My name is Ben, and I'm from Taiwan. Me and my wife run a YouTube channel called Lessons from Movies, which we share life lessons we learn from movies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
That's amazing.
Thank you. And we are really looking forward to watch Barbie, the entire movie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, great.
okay.
I can't wait to hear what life lesson
I
you
know.
take.
I know,
That's
me
my
too.
first question for
What's
Greta.
the life lesson?
Yeah, well, I mean, what messages this film tries to convey?
Well, there's a lot of different aspects of what this movie is trying to convey. And in some ways, I wanted there to be lots of ideas in the movie because I feel like Barbie is nothing if not a maximalist.
Right.
Like, she's got so much stuff and glitter, and there's never too much, and it's never too big or fluffy or fun or pink. And so I was like, well, we can really, I can go crazy on the ideas. So it's really chock full of them. But I think the thing at the end that I really want people to feel is that they're good enough, that they're okay, that they are their own role model, that there's not something external, that they're worthy in and of themselves. And I think that that's such a big message, but it was the thing that I really hoped people would feel, that they don't earn their worth, they have it.
Right. But how do you balance the educational and entertainment aspect?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the trick. I mean honestly, with these actors, because they each of them in their different roles go on these different journeys, and they're so winning and entertaining and heartfelt and funny, and so you're watching this story unfold, and that they, in a funny way, I just thought of this, but we make dolls and then dolls make us,
right.
And then we remake the dolls. But in the same way, actors and storytellers reflect back for people, and then hopefully what you leave with is something for yourself,
right.
in yourself, and they give them what they go through, then gives it back to you.
Right.
I think another way, if I can jump in on how she manages to entertain and also educate at the same time. You know that phrase, oh, it's funny because it's true?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's so many moments in this film where things are particularly funny because everyone watches it and goes, that's so true. That is so what someone says, or
Right.
that's so how we react to those situations. And for some reason, I think that's a real sweet spot, I think, of achieving both of those things, because it's entertaining, because it's funny, because it's true, but then it also kind of hits you. You're like, oh, I feel seen.
Right.
I do that, or I've seen other people do that. And then it kind of triggers a thought process of, why do we do that? And why should I maybe do things differently, or is that just human nature? And I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of moments in this movie where, aside from there's a lot of levels of comedy. There's kind of physical comedy, there's the comedy in the choreography, there's comedy in the very clever dialogue and wit, but there's also those moments where you're like, oh, human beings, we do that, and so this moment is particularly funny because I see myself in it.
Right. Right. Okay. Next question for Margot. In Barbie Land, Barbie can do anything, and she can be anyone that she sets her mind to. But when Barbie and Ken come to the real world, they see that the power dynamics in the real world is quite different. What are your thoughts on this shift of power dynamics presented in the film, and how has it influenced your portrayal of Barbie?
I think it's one of those fun parts of the movie where the audience is ahead of the realization that Barbie and Ken are going to have. And
Right.
again, that's funny because you're sitting there knowing what they're in for. Barbie goes into the real world thinking that Barbie has changed the lives of women everywhere for the better. And we as an audience member know that she's probably going to run into someone in the real world who tells her otherwise. And she does when she goes up to a teenager at school and says, hi, I'm your favorite toy. You just know that this teenage girl is going to rip her to shreds, and she does, and it's spectacular. So yeah, it's kind of that thing. I think it was used to great effect, the device of letting the audience know what's going to happen before you see Barbie and Ken realize it. And it's kind of integral to the story anyway, because we start off in Barbie Land where there's a power dynamic that's very much in the Barbie's favor.
Right.
And then when they go to the real world, the tables turn, and you kind of get to a point where you're like, oh, you guys are going to have to reconcile this. You're going to have to find a way to, exist together in a more fair way. So it's, I find that a particularly fun part of the movie, but also a driving force of the storyline.
Right.
It's like, don't go into the basement.
Yeah.
You know, like, the audience is like, don't go in the basement.
Or when everyone's like, it's a horror movie, and they're like, we should split up. And you're like, no, don't split up.
I know.
You're going to die so
that's why I
fast.
can't watch horror movies because I'm always like, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't go
Leaving the
there.
mobile phone behind. No.
You kind of know who's going to die first.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now, the next question is for America. We haven't watched the entire movie yet, but we know that your character is not a Barbie, but has a significant influence on her. Now, Barbie has always been a symbol of idealized femininity for many. How does your character break or uphold this stereotype?
Yeah, you know, Greta and I talked a lot about that when we first started chatting, and for me, I did have to kind of wrap my mind around like, okay, who is this woman? She's a grown woman, she's a mother, she's a professional. Like, I'd like to play her as a mature woman. So what is this connection and love of something, as you said, like that we sort of deem as superficial femininity, superficial womanhood? You imagine that an older woman would have a more critical look at Barbie and not kind of stay connected to the kind of pure aspirational part of it. And I mean, it was a long conversation. There was an incredible documentary about the expansion of Barbie that really clinched it for me. And really, I think the essence of it is, for my character, I think her journey is one of giving herself the permission to be more of all the things she is, and that giving us all the permission to be all the things we are, and that we don't have to cut out aspects of ourselves to be taken seriously or to be respected. That as women, you know, we need to give ourselves the permission to love what we love, stay connected to our joy and our aspiration and our childlike, you know, love for things, and at the same time get to grow up and be taken seriously within that.
Okay, I think I only have time for one more question for Greta. How do you ensure that the live-action Barbie movie stays true to the essence of the original characters while also adapting to audiences of today?
Yeah, well, that was, I mean, that kind of thing of how do we, it's actually similar to what America was talking about, of like, we have this idea of Barbie, and, you know, I, as a kid, definitely remember looking at Barbie in Toys R Us, which is a toy store, and kind of like, I don't know, fantasizing about her or something. I don't know what I sort of wanted all this stuff, but I don't know that it's that I wanted to be her. It's like some projection that dolls give us that you're able to kind of like imaginatively step into it. And so there's that aspect, and then there's of course like me as a grown woman and as a person who's exists in the world differently, and it's sort of being able to hold different points of consciousness around this doll, right. And kind of being like, okay, well, it's existed from 1959 until now, and everybody has a different relationship with it, is terrifying but also exciting, because it's like people, like we say in the trailer, people love it, people hate it, but very few people don't feel anything about it at all. There's always some kind of, there's a valence to Barbie that I think people register, at least one way or another. And I was just, you know, like my mom didn't like Barbie and I loved Barbie. And then I grew up and I have a different feeling about it. Like there's so many different pinpoints, and I kind of always wanted to keep it both personal, and the more personal I could make it, the more I felt like it could be universal, because even in myself I have this kind of journey with it, and in my family, and in the kind of experience of what I know Barbie to be.
Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to watch the movie.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Great
And happy
interview.
birthday.
Thank you so much.